Hi, my name is Christine Poplau, and I am the Senior Manager here with Broadloom. Today, we're going to discuss the year-end process and what you need to do to get ready for your year-end using the Broadloom business management system. First, we're going to talk about some of the different terminology that we use. In addition, we're going to talk about how to prepare for year-end, how to make sure that you're running the right reports on the last day of the year, what you need to do into 2025, and how to close the year for 2024. So let's go ahead and discuss what the differences are between financials month end and then doing a hard close for the year. So financials are the actual monthly preparation of your financial statements. You will usually do those 10 to 15 days after month end. You'll have done your bank recs and a number of other items. You usually will do a soft close before you're done with that so that you have all of the information that you need. Month end is when we run these baseline reports, and we've done a number of educational trainings on those, so you could look back and try to find those. And then in addition, the hard close of a month is when we actually close the month so that no other changes can be made. So what do we do to prepare? So the first thing that I would like you to do is to jump into your system and make sure that everything is accurate. So let's go ahead and look in a BMS system. So we're within the BMS system, and the first thing that I really want you to do is to print a trial balance. Print the trial balance and make sure that your account balances seem correct. Clean up some old items and prepare for next year. So you're going to go into BMS system and you're going to go into inventory control and you're going to purge some inventory. You're most likely, when you do this purge, you're going to either print this to screen or print it as a PDF. You can always reprint these reports, but you're generally going to want to purge all of your items and leave anything less than 0.01. All this purge does is archive your information. I always like to purge just any roles received within a week of my purge. So in this case, if I'm doing this on November 12th, I would put November 5th here, and you want to make sure that all items have a vendor invoice number. And as you purge these, like I said, it's just setting them into an archive status and it cleans up your inventory listing. The next thing you'll probably be doing within your inventory is doing a physical count and making those necessary adjustments. There is a training out there on YouTube for how to do a physical count and the steps that you need to take to make sure that that's successful. So I'm not going to get into all of the details there. Then you'll want to do audit report adjustments and review your inventory. From the master menu, the next thing I want you to consider is your purchase orders. And within your purchase orders, I want you to look and see if anything has been received fully and find out why that purchase order is still open. Make sure that if there's some old purchase orders that you ended up not using, go ahead and close that. This isn't going to impact your financials or anything like that. It's just a good practice to get into to clean this up. Honestly, I would probably do this quarterly to make sure that you don't have a lot of old items here. After you look at your purchase orders and you get those cleaned up, or while you're doing that, the next thing I do is I go into my open orders. And there's a number of ways you can look at them. You can look at them from the screen. You can print a job report, however you like to review them. But what I have done is I will sort by job status, anything that says it's complete or done, find out why we haven't invoiced, maybe sort it by dates so that you get your oldest on top, and you go through and clean up those jobs. Now, granted, I'm in a test system, so I have a lot of old jobs here. Hopefully you wouldn't have anything that's 10 years old in your system. So after I've looked at my open jobs, invoiced as many as I can, closed jobs that were not closed properly, and really just dig into your orders. This is your chance to get everything invoiced before year end. After I've cleaned up my purchase orders, I've cleaned up my job orders, then I'm going to go into my general ledger, and I'm going to look and see what month am I still operating in. And in my general period date maintenance, I can still see that I have 2023 open. Well, I need to get that closed before the end of December. So I'm going to find out if I've posted if my tax return's been filed and if I've made those adjustments, and talk to my tax accountant to make sure that I have all of this information correct. And then I can hard close this year. And if you have any questions on that, you can certainly contact support, and they'll assist you in finding out what you need to do to get this closed. I'm also going to go into some different modules. I'm going to go look in my accounts payable and make sure that I have reviewed my open items in accounts payable. So I'm going to go into my AP reports and my open invoice listing and review that. That's going to help me make sure that I have accurate AP listing, that there's not some old things sitting out there with small balances that I need to discount to get out of there. I'm also going to run within my purchase orders report, and this has more to deal with AP than it does necessarily with purchase orders. I'm going to go into purchase orders receiving reports and print my receiving report by product type, AP not invoiced. And what this report shows me is it shows me what is open still from items that I've received that I have not posted my AP bill on. So for this one, we can see that we have something left over from November of 23 that we haven't posted. Now, hopefully you've fixed this, but again, like I said, this is just a test system. So this report though will list, the purchase order and when you received it and what the cost is. After you've made sure that you've entered as many AP bills and you've got that cleaned up, the next thing that we want to kind of just highlight on is your 1099 preparation. You can go into accounts payable again and run a AP vendor listing. When you run this report, it's going to give you information about active or inactive vendors, but it's going to give us a listing of all of our vendors, and it's going to let me know if I have prepared my vendors correctly when I entered them, and that I have a social security number or a taxpayer identification number. I can look through these and make sure that I have that information so that when I go to enter or do my 1099s, that my subcontractors have that information and I'm not searching for it. So here under the type, I could sort this or filter it, and I could just go in. And in this case, we have it set up as INS for installers. Some people may be using subs, but as I look at this list, I can see that I'm missing some information. And I would definitely want to make sure that I get that before year end, so that January isn't this crazy time when you're trying to get your 1099s done. We are going to have another training on 1099s and electronic filing that we'll be able to do this year. So stay tuned for that training as well. after I've looked at my vendors for my 1099 preparation, I'm going to jump into accounts receivable, and I'm going to, let's go ahead and jump in there. So I'm going to go into accounts receivable, and I'm going to print an aging report. So the AR aging report is in the menu 2 of 2. And when I print this report, I'm going to print it to Excel, and I'm going to look for small balances and fix any applications there. I'm going to look for any uncollectible accounts and write those off. I'm going to also print my customer deposits. So before I jump into that though, let's go ahead and look at my AR aging report. And in this AR aging report, I might be looking at these credits and see why they're still sitting out there. I'm looking at some of these small balances to just go ahead and write those off, or to change the application and take them as a discount. So these are just things that you can do to, make sure your AR is a little bit more accurate. I also like to do this more than just at the end of the year and do it quarterly. So after we've done that, then we're going to look at our customer deposits. And we're going to look and say, man, I have a lot of deposits that are really old. Why haven't we invoiced those jobs? What's the status of them? And again, like I said, I'm in a test system, so numbers may look kind of crazy, but we have the ability to sort these by the aging. And I'm looking at things that are 91 days and older, depending on what my business is and what my turnaround is. So I've looked at all of my, subledgers, my inventory, accounts payable, accounts receivable, customer deposits. And next I'm going into my balance sheet, and I'm looking at some of my other accounts. So in this case, I'm looking at my trial balance, and I'm making sure that, any purchases of my fixed assets fall above my capitalization policy. So I see a $54 amount here in my vehicles. Well, that's probably just a repair and should be expensed. I'm looking at my suspense account, finding out why that hasn't netted to zero. I'm looking at maybe some of my other clearing accounts to make sure that those have netted to zero. I'm looking at, just the activity within here to make sure that those balances seem correct. Some people are doing these on a monthly basis. Some people just wait till the end of the year. So whatever works best for you. I, of course, say it should be done on a monthly basis. So now we've reached the end of the year. It's December 31st, and you're going to go in and start running some baseline reports. A lot of people ask, why are we running these baseline reports? And the reason being is we want to make sure that our standard and as of reports agree at the end of each month, and definitely at the end of the year. So within the system, we have added in the general ledger a print all reports. Now this existed last year as well, but I just want to review this again. So these first 5 reports, sales processing, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and general ledger, those are really reports that should be run daily. If not daily, at least a couple times a week. This keeps your system up to date. Now, sales processing and general ledger are collection reports. They're going to gather information to update the general ledger. The rest of these are informational. So after you've run these reports, you're going to go through these final steps here, and you're going to run them all. I run most of these to Excel, and I create kind of a mini audit where I'm I just have all of my work papers in an Excel file, starting with my trial balances and then all of the other information. Again, the reason these are important is to get you your baseline, make sure everything ties. So then when you're going to do your financials, you know that your subledgers are going to agree. So after I print my trial balance and all these other reports, this is when I'm going to start comparing the trial balance. So let's go grab that. I'm going to start comparing my trial balance numbers with my subledgers. So you can see I've put the subledger balances from those reports I've run, and I don't have any difference until I get down here to install a retainage. So at this point, I'd want to dig into the detail and find out why that's off. Generally, you're going to probably see an entry within this activity or within the general ledger detail for that amount, and you'll be able to tie it down. Like I said, I like to, prepare this mini audit. I like to look at my general ledger detail for inventory and compare that to my valuation. And again, if you want more detail on how this works, you'll want to go check out that everything you wanted to know about inventory and physical counts training that we had. So after month end, what do you want to do? It's December 31st is past. You're now in January. What are you doing? Well, number one, you may be continuing to invoice. You'll definitely be entering your accounts payable. You're looking at your customer accounts and doing any adjustments you need there. And then finally, I like to say, kind of understand the materiality. Are you going to keep your books open for maybe $150 invoice? Probably not. You want to go ahead and get those closed as quickly as you can so that you can get your information done for your tax return, etc. So my suggestion is, post month end, decide what your cutoff is. Okay, we're going to say on the 10th, we're going to be done with accounts payable, unless we know that we have some large ones that are out there waiting. And you can always talk to your vendors or find out what you need to do there. So you've got your cutoff, you're proceeding with all of that information. But really year end and month end are very similar. You're going to do your bank reconciliation. You're going to run your sales tax reports. So when we jump back into the system, bank reconciliations are in the accounts payable module, bank reconciliations. But your sales tax reports are located in sales processing reports, menu 2, and you've got your sales tax reporting details. The one thing that I want to remind you of, in case you've forgotten, is when you run your sales tax report, you want to run it wide open and print it. And then when it asks you if this is correct, you'll say yes. And then when you're getting ready to do your sales tax return, you're going to use your report history and put in the dates of the year or the month. I apologize, the month that you're doing. So in this case, if I'm doing my November, I'm going to put November 1 through November 30th, and I'm just going to get that detail. In addition to your bank reconciliation and your sales tax reports, you're going through and you're posting any adjustments that need to be done. And you're making sure that your trial balance is as accurate as you can get it. You also want to make sure that you're soft closing your months. So if I go into the general ledger detail again, account maintenance, and GL period date maintenance, this is what we consider the soft close. And I can go in and adjust this so that I am not allowing people to create any more invoices in period 12 before or Let me back up, sorry. So I can soft close sales processing so no one can backdate an invoice into December. They can only go into, let's say, January. So that is where you would take care of that. After you've, soft closed your modules, you're working on your financials, you may also need to be doing some 1099 work. I like to run a copy of my 1099s to PDF and verify balances to the vendor history account report by GL. And there are ways to fix those balances if you're finding that they're incorrect. You can either check our knowledge articles or contact support. That would be BMS support at broadloom.com. I'm not going to get into too much detail on the 1099s as we are going to have another training on that. So after you've done everything you can, made sure your financial statements are correct, you're going to want to get everything ready for your tax preparer. You're going to send your financials to your tax preparer. Some people like to leave period 12 open because they want to post their adjustments in period 12. Some people want to use period 13 so that they can say that if they run an income statement through period 12, they know that's the true activity during the year, and then period 13 was just for adjustments. Either way is fine. Just if you do leave period 12 open, you'll want to make sure that you're not allowing anyone to post into period 12. Now your tax return's done and your tax preparer, your CPA, has provided you with a list of adjustments. So we want to make sure and post those adjustments and then ask your tax preparer for a trial balance and compare the trial balance within BMS to the trial balance that they gave you to make sure that everything is good, everything matches. Once that is done, this is when we would go in and do a hard close. So we're in our general ledger system and we're running end of year processing. This is where you're going to be able to see all of the years that we've closed. And then we could put in the year that we're closing here and then a description. I often like to just type it again. Let's say calendar year. It's going to ask if it's correct and you'll just say run. The system will automatically transfer then now to 2024. I'm not going to do that right now. That would be if we're closing 2023. If we're closing 2024, it's going to flip to 2025. And then, you think, okay, everything's done. I've closed it. Well, there's one more thing you need to do, and that is reclassify your current earnings into retained earnings. So we use one account for current earnings, and that account balance needs to be reclassified into retained earnings, and I do that entry as of 1/1/25, as well as reclassifying my distributions if I'm an S Corp or a partnership into retained earnings. Hopefully that helps you with your year end and what processes you need to do to make sure that you've got a successful year end and that your books are cleaned up in time. If you have any questions, please contact us at bmssupport@broadloom.com. Thank you for attending.